What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge, starring myself and Alex. First thing I want to say is apologize for not getting an episode out yesterday. There was a miscommunication, and that we're trying our best for that not to become a habit. So don't get used to seeing episodes on Friday, but we wanted to make this one and get it out before the episode on Sunday. And yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick, and then we'll kick it over to Alex for some NBA news.
All right, within the last 4 days, the NBA released their season schedule. We saw a lot of teams have creative social media posts involving their schedule. We found out the season tip-off is October 24th, so a little over 2 months from now, which is phenomenal. Can't wait for that to be back. The opening games, we got the Nuggets versus Lakers, defending champion versus the team they swept in the Western Conference Finals. And we had the Suns Warriors, which I think is an interesting matchup. It's a team it's two teams we didn't see in the compete in the playoffs against each other last year, but nonetheless, it's still two Western Conference contenders. So I think they're both going to be interesting matchups.
Yeah, I'm more excited for the Warriors game, obviously, because I'm a Warriors fan. Anytime we get to play
Biased.
Anytime we get to play against Kevin Durant is always an entertaining game. So I do think that will steal the show. But Nuggets Lakers could be good too. Hopefully the Lakers play better than they did in the Western Conference Finals when they got swept by Denver. Hopefully they take that game a little personal.
As an unbiased fan here, I'm more excited for the Nuggets-Lakers game. All the shit that Michael Malone's been talking about the Lakers after they beat him, I feel like the Lakers are going to come up with a chip on their shoulder with something to prove, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, but they're also going up against the best player in the league, so
yeah.
It'll be a hard task.
Judging from social media posts, it doesn't look like he's touched a basketball since he's won the championship.
Nope. I don't think he needs to, though.
I don't think so either. He's dominant, and he treats the NBA like a part-time job. Jokic is one of a kind.
Yep, for sure.
All right. With that, we'll kick it over to our main topic for today. We're going to go back into our previews and begin the Western Conference. We're going to start with the Southwest Conference, which consists of the Mavericks, Rockets, Spurs, Pelicans, and Grizzlies. So, take it to you. Which team you want to start with?
All right, we'll start with the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like this is... I'll say this is the most exciting team in this division. You may argue Memphis, but with Ja being suspended for 25 games, I think they might be less fun to watch early on in the season. But I'm definitely excited for Kyrie and Luka to get a full season together. I think it's going to be really entertaining, really fun basketball to watch. A lot of offensive superpower. And I think they are going to do good this year. My expectation for them in the Western Conference is top 4. I think they have the talent to finish top 4. The West is wide open. It's completely different from the Eastern Conference where the East is top heavy, whereas the West, there's like 8 to 10 teams that can finish in the top 5, I feel like, this year. And it's like that most years where you have like your championship contenders, but then your regular season, any game is like a coin toss, really, between those 8 to 10 teams. And I think Dallas is one of those teams that can win some more regular season games because of Luka, because of Kyrie. And I expect them to finish close to the top 4, if not in it. My team MVP is obviously Luka. He's a top 5 player in the NBA, and I see him getting better and better each year, so that was pretty easy. And then for my X Factor, I have Kyrie Irving. His on-the-court play is not questionable at all, but his off-the-court status may impact Dallas' success this season, and he is my X factor for that reason.
Yeah, Dallas is one of the more interesting and exciting teams this year, but this division as a whole might be the most interesting and exciting division in basketball. You mentioned the Grizzlies. You didn't even mention the Pelicans. We're going to get into them later, of course, but their entire season is going to revolve around Zion's health, and we saw with Zion, they were 1 seed. Without him, they didn't make the playoffs. This is just a season this is a division that could have 3 contenders, or every team can miss the playoffs. I don't want to be surprised to see either one. But, yeah, going back to Dallas, last year, after the trade for Kyrie, I know they're disappointed, and because of that, this is going to be one of their most crucial seasons, because you have a generational superstar in Luka who wants to win and win now. And that was the point of the Kyrie trade. However, that trade didn't even get them to the playoffs. They didn't even get them to the play-in. That was an unquestionable failure ending to the regular season. They were able to avoid worst-case scenario and re-sign Kyrie, which obviously is huge, and gives a superstar duo of Luka and Kyrie a chance to run it back, build some chemistry together, and learn how to play together. I do see them having a bounce back season. I think Luka and Kyrie are just too talented to not be able to bounce back. Defense is still a hole in this roster, but I feel like the addition of Derek Lively in the draft is going to really help with that. I really like that fit with the Mavericks. He's a great rim protector and a good pick and roll center on offense, and that's really all they need. That was their biggest hole last year, and they plugged it pretty well. The superstar for the team, MVP, is obviously Luka. Like you said, top 5 player. Very well could win MVP this year, and very well could make an argument for best player of the year with a deep best player in the NBA with a deep playoff run. My X factor is obviously Kyrie Irving, because they gave up their entire future for this guy. If this season's anything like the end of last season, this trade going to go down as an unquestionable failure, and I would not be surprised to see Luka out of Dallas.
Yeah, I think that would be a colossal choke if they, somehow flush 5 years of greatness down the toilet and let Luka Doncic walk. That'd be insane, and that would turn the NBA upside down if Luka wore a new jersey in a couple of years. But I like what you said about Kyrie, too, about how they gave up everything to get him. So if this doesn't work, they're in a deep hole, not only, within the organization, but their fans, too. Money's low, so I hope for their sake and for the entertainment of the NBA that Kyrie and Luka have some memorable moments this year, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about Dallas letting Luka walk. I was talking about Luka requesting a trade. We're in the player empowerment era. If Luka just wants to win, he's got his max contract, and now his main focus is winning. If Dallas can't do that, I would not be surprised to see Luka be the next big superstar to request a trade, maybe in this coming offseason.
Yeah, if I'm Dallas, though, even if you request a trade, I don't know.
You do not give him up.
Yeah,
unless you're getting like...
I mean, you've got to hold on to
unless you're getting first rounder for the next 10 years and like 3 superstars. Luka might be the most untouchable player in the league.
Yeah, him and Jokic, I would say, are the most untouchable players in the league probably right now.
He's too good of a young talent to give up for any sort of price.
All right. So after talking about the Dallas Mavericks for a good bit, we're going to move on to a younger team with a lot to prove this year. The Houston Rockets, who came second in the Summer League, finishing behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. But they had a terrific draft class, in my opinion. And with the addition of Fred VanVleet, who I have as their team MVP, I think currently he's the best player on their team. And he's the only all-star on their team. So that's kind of the criteria I went off of there. I don't know if he's going to get minutes as the number one option this year, but I do think his veteran presence, his shooting ability will help the Rockets exponentially, and that's something they haven't had in a few years. And then my X factor was Jalen Green. Jalen Green can be one of the best players in the NBA. I think his skill set is so good. He's freakishly athletic, but he plays like it's a pickup game and not like you're playing to win an NBA game. And if his mental approach to the game can be corrected by the coaching staff in Houston, I seriously think Jalen Green could be a top 10 guard in the NBA, like in a couple of seasons. He has everything you need. He can create his own shot off the dribble. He can finish at the rim. He can shoot the three. He's an athletic specimen, which means he'll be able to hold his own on defense. But his mental approach to basketball has held him back the first couple years of his career, and I hope to see that turn around this year, which is why I have him as my X factor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the Rockets being able to push for even a playoff spot in the more competitive Western Conference. I think this is another year of rebuilding, trying to get a high pick, and then focusing on next year. I don't think the signing of VanVleet is going to do enough to help the team. He might be the worst defensive guard in the league, and Houston is not a team with any well-renowned defensive specialists. So I'm really not sure how this...
Except for Dylan Brooks, who they signed this year.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a defensive.
Dylan Brooks.
He's a defensive specialist. He's a defensive. Is he not a defensive specialist?
Have you seen him in this FIBA World Cup? The only highlights I've seen of Dylan Brooks in this World Cup is him getting cooked over and over again.
I didn't say he was a good defensive specialist. I just said that he's a defensive specialist.
Okay. Well, the Houston Rockets don't have a good defensive specialist on their team.
Thank you.
Is that fair? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, okay, sure. I'll agree with you on that.
All right. With that being said, I don't think the addition of Van Vliet is going to be enough when you have so much offensive talent on the roster. Just adding another offensive talent isn't going to get the team to the next level. My team MVP might surprise you a bit, and this is a bit of a leap. After what I saw in the Summer League, I'm going to go Jabari Smith Jr. I feel like Jabari Smith is going to take a huge second-year leap. He looked unguardable in the Summer League in the 2 games he played. He put up 33 and 37 points. He just looked like he could get a bucket whenever he wanted. And because of that, I feel like he's the best offensive player on the Rockets, and a team without defense, you got to give the best offensive player the MVP. I think it's going to be Jabari Smith. I think he's going to take a huge leap this year. I think he's a contender for most improved player. And yeah, my X Factor, I also have Jalen Green. I am not a Jalen Green believer. I thought last year he was going to take an Anthony Edwards-like leap, and he just didn't. He didn't improve in a single category last year. He just looked like the same player he was as a rookie. I do like the hire as Ime Udoka as a coach, and I do think Van Vliet is going to be a good mentor for him. But if Jalen Green doesn't take like you said, it is all about mental. If Jalen Green doesn't take what they say about the game and how to play it, he does have high potential, but I don't think he's going to improve. I don't think Jalen Green is starting. I feel like his best role is a 6-man spark plug off the bench. I feel like he's going to be a Lou Williams-like player down the line. I don't see him being an all-star guard.
Hey, don't slouch on my boy Lou Will, though. Lou Will's a bucket.
I'm not slouching on Lou Will. Lou Will is a bucket, and Jalen Green is a bucket too. However, Lou Will cannot do anything else other than get buckets, which is why he was designated as a 6-man off the bench. I feel like that's what Jalen Green is also going to end up being.
I can see that for sure. Ime Udoka, I think he's going to understand the potential this kid has because, as I mentioned earlier, he has every physical attribute you could ask for in an NBA player. But he's got to accept that, he can't take every shot, that not every shot is the buzzer beater. He's got to play the right way, move the ball, make the extra pass, and the Rockets will be, I think they can contend for a play-in spot this year if everything goes right, if they stay healthy, if their players improve to the capabilities I think they can improve this season. I could see them getting into the 9 or 10 spot and making the play-in tournament this year, but that's about as high as I see them going this year.
We haven't even started to mention Amin Thompson, their 4th overall pick in this draft. I mean, to be real, I wasn't really familiar with Overtime Elite, so the only minutes I got to see him are the 20 minutes he played in the Summer League before he got hurt. Yeah, but in those 20 minutes, he was going head-to-head with Scoot, and he looked really good. So I think they got a good young guard with a lot better playmaking than Jalen Green if Green doesn't end up working out. Also, a shout out to Alperen Şengün, the next Nikola Jokic, if they do it all right. He could be a stud.
Yeah.
He could be legitimately the next Jokic. And that's bold to say. I'm not saying he is. But the skill set's all there. He's a great passer, great finisher at the rim, has great touch on his shots. What he needs to improve his perimeter and mid-range shooting a little bit and get a modicum of defensive ability. Because he's 6'9". He plays center.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say
the talent is there. It could be very good.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but he's a less athletic Jokic. I didn't think that was possible.
That is a phenomenal comparison.
But I think that is like the perfect comparison for Şengün because he can do almost everything Jokic can do, just to a lesser extent. But Jokic has really worked on his body since he came into the league. Quite a transformation, and it's paid dividends for him. Back-to-back MVPs, just won a championship. Yeah. Şengün, a less athletic Jokic, for sure.
Yeah, but that's a phenomenal comparison. We got a 6'9" Jokic who, as long as he hits the gym and keeps his cardio intact, he could be a very, very good player.
Yeah. All right, moving off the Rockets, who have somewhat potential this year, we'll go into a team that I think can really decline this year, and that's because of the off-the-court issues of their best player, Ja Morant, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies. With a 25-game suspension on the horizon for Ja Morant, I think the team might play better without him those first 25 games because they can trust each other. They don't, have to worry about all that off-the-court crap that corrupted them at the end of last year. Ja Morant, I think he will help the Memphis Grizzlies when he gets back, and they'll be more entertaining to watch, and they'll probably win more games. but I do think that Memphis will have a hard time trusting him this season after all the off the court issues. I see this situation being similar to the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green situation last year, where obviously they're going to say to the media that it's all okay and that you get along great and stuff. But, I mean, Ja Morant has made mistakes multiple times on Instagram Live over the summer. And if his teammates, think he's doing something wrong or stuff, I don't know how much more they can trust him to do the right thing and be there when they need him the most, which is, all year. They need him because he is their best player. And for that reason, I have Ja Morant as not only the MVP, but also the X factor of this team, because he needs to prove to his teammates that he's reliable and that he can be accountable for his own actions this season. As a young kid with a lot of money, I know it's hard, and he needs to prove to the veteran guys that, I'll be there when you need me. So Memphis, I do think, is going to regress a little bit. I still have them making the playoffs, but I see them as a first-round exit this season. I think there's too many good teams in the Western Conference that have more chemistry, well-rounded, that can knock this team out in 6 or 7 games in the first round.
The first thing I want to say about Memphis is I hope Ja Morant has learned his lesson. This is one of the most dynamic, exciting young guards that we have in the NBA right now. He's on a highlight reel every other game. We've seen him do things that we've never seen before. And this is the second time he's made a mistake like this. And the second time's a charm for him that he does learn his lesson, because it would suck to see such an exciting young talent have to miss out games because he makes poor decisions. With that being said, I do agree with you in that they are going to have chemistry issues this season. However, I do think the addition of Marcus Smart is going to help Ja Morant a lot. Marcus Smart is the ideal point guard mentor. He's won the Hustle Award multiple times in his NBA career, the annual Hustle Award they have. And he's just a gritty, will do anything it takes to win type of point guard. He doesn't need to be the first option or the second option. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to leave an impact on the game. And he will continuously, every year, be one of the best defensive guards in the league. And I feel like someone like that, a team-first mentality that Marcus Smart has, is going to help Ja Morant focus on the NBA and put his off-the-court issues in the past. But, yeah, with Ja missing the first 25 games of the season, it is going to be interesting to see how they integrate him after those 25 games. They did win a lot of games without him because they still have a strong core, including Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, who made his first All-Star game and won Defensive Player last year. But, the chemistry issues is what's going to derail Memphis this season. So if they are going to contend, I don't think it is going to be this season, maybe next season. Maybe they win a playoff series this year.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
Talent they have, I feel like if they have a successful regular season like they did last year, have home court advantage, I feel like they could clean up the 7th or the 8th seed. But I don't see them being a threat to win the Western Conference just because of the aforementioned chemistry issues, the experiencedness of the team. Give them another year, though, and as long as Ja stays out of trouble, Memphis is going to look very scary.
Yeah, I think this year is not a rebuilding year, but this is a get-right year for Memphis. They need to prove to each other that they can play together. And an underrated loss this year, they lost their backup point guard, Tyus Jones, who's been playing spectacular basketball for them the last couple of years, coming off the bench when Ja needs rest. He's been very good for them, and when he left for the Wizards, I think that's a very underrated loss for Memphis. It's going to hurt their bench unit a little bit. And, yeah, like you mentioned, home court advantage as well. I just want to mention this real quick. I don't see them getting home court advantage this year. They're going to be on the road for the first 2 games of the playoff series, and I think that will ultimately be their downfall.
Tyus Jones is incredible, dude. He might be the best backup point guard in the league. He just does not turn the ball over, ever. He's led the league in assist to turnover ratio in the last, 5 years or something like that. It's crazy. It's absurd. Tyus Jones is so underrated as a backup point guard. Yeah, I actually think he is going to thrive with Washington. I can't wait to see how that goes in his first starting role.
I think he'll be very good for Washington, and I think Memphis will miss him, especially in the first 25 games without Ja. They will definitely miss Tyus Jones' presence on the court as a leader of the offense.
I feel like Memphis is a lot like the Boston Celtics. They made a trade with Boston, acquired a new piece, and then committed to a member of their core long-term with that 5-year, $200 million extension we saw Desmond Bane get. So for the better or for worse, Memphis is stuck with the big three of Morant, Bane, and Jaren Jackson. just like the Celtics are stuck with their big three of Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis. For better or for worse, this is what this team's going to run out for the next couple seasons. And it's either going to be very successful or they're going to have to blow it all up in a couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean, Ja Morant might blow it up for them if he continues with the off-the-court struggles. He may leave Memphis with no choice, which is just really sad because, like you mentioned, he's a special player, and he's only entering his peak. So I hope he can get back onto the court and keep all that off-the-court shit to him, a minimum.
All right, with that being said, let's transition to another team in this conference that also might have no choice but to trade their superstar player, the New Orleans Pelicans. We've seen their superstar players, Zion Williamson, in the trade rumor mill a lot, but not because of his off-the-court issue, but because he can't stay on the court. He's consistently been plagued throughout his NBA career with long-term injuries. When we see him on the court, we see how explosive he can be and how good this New Orleans Pelicans team can be. When he was healthy for the first third of the regular season, they were the one seed in the West. They looked like championship contenders. Then he went down. He's supposed to miss a couple weeks, and then he never came back this season. And New Orleans ended up losing their first play-in game to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And again, this is another team that has a crucial year. They committed to Zion I think it was last offseason, with a max contract deal, even though he played very little part of his rookie deal. And we still see the same issues again now that he's entered his max deal. If Zion can't stay healthy, this is another team that also might have no choice but to trade their superstar.
Yeah, similar to my last team, Memphis, I have the same MVP X factor being Zion. Mm-hmm. Their success is centered around the big guy from Duke, who, when he's healthy, is honestly might be the best power forward in the league. To be honest with you, he might be the best power forward in the league when healthy.
Might even be a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's unstoppable in the paint. He can get to his left hand anytime he wants, which is ridiculous because I don't know why people don't force him right, but he still gets to his left. He's working on his free throws. I think he's a pretty good free throw shooter for a big guy. If he can improve his jump shooting and his dribbling ability,
he'll be unstoppable. It'll be scary.
I mean, he'll be very unstoppable, and he's also a very good defender, I think, especially down low. His athleticism helps tremendously, but he's a smart defensive player. He's capable of making plays on the defensive end. And the Pelicans, like you said, their expectations and their potential skyrocket when he's playing at, honestly, an MVP type level.
Yeah, Zion, we've never seen a player like Zion in the NBA. The reason he was compared to LeBron in the pre-draft process is because he's a 280-pound man who can jump out of the building. We've never seen someone that big with that much athleticism. It's absurd, and he's clearly showed that when he's healthy, that athleticism is a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. It is a very scary sight to see a Zion driving at you on his left hand. He could put you on a poster. He could put you in the spin cycle. There's no way to stop him other than to foul him.
Yeah.
And they have a very good core around him. They have a multiple-time All-Star in Brandon Ingram, very good third option CJ McCollum. We have Grand Theft Alvarado, one of the more popular players in the league, and he has the best nickname in the league. Grand Theft Alvarado is so good. Yeah, like you said, it is all centered around whether Zion can stay healthy or not. If not, the Pelicans won't even be a play-in team. If they are, they could contend for a championship. And this team has potentially the widest floor to ceiling in the NBA, and it's all based on their superstar.
Yeah, I agree. And when we say healthy, not only are we meaning his knees, but his diet needs to improve. He needs to lose some weight. And the NBA trainers, I feel like, are somewhat not responsible for Zion putting on weight, but I feel like it is their job, at least during the season, to slim this man down by 10 to 15 pounds. Like, there is no reason why Zion should be weighing in at over 300 pounds. Absolutely no way. You have the best trainers and the best nutritionists probably in the world telling you what to do on a day-to-day basis. You work out like twice a day, every single day, for money. Like, you literally get paid to work out and eat good. Like, I don't understand how a player of his caliber can, not care about his body so much. And I don't know if that's what it is, but I feel like the trainers are somewhat responsible for that because they need to tell him, like, hey, if you want to be great, if you want to win championships, if you want to have a legacy, you're going to need to eat a salad every once in a while, bro. Like,
yeah, cut up fried chicken.
yeah, I mean,
Stay off of jambalaya.
yeah.
I know that New Orleans jambalaya is good, but you got to stay off it for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at least during the season. In the off season, if you want to have some cheat meals, go for it. But similar to what Ja said, or what I said about Ja, he needs to be there for his team. He needs to be available. That's one of the more important things an NBA player can do. I remember when LeBron said that about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He said he's one of my favorite teammates because he plays every game. I can count on him being there, giving 100% every night. And Zion is in the same boat as Ja for different reasons, but they need to prove to their teams that, and their organizations, the front office especially, that we will not ruin this for the rest of you.
Who would have thought, looking back at the 2019 draft, the most consistent top 3 pick would have been R.J. Barrett. Zion and Ja can't stay on the court. It's shocking to see how that 2019 draft class has panned out. We got 2 superstars who can't stay on the court. It just sucks. It's a massive lack of talent in the league that could be there otherwise.
Yeah, and if this trend continues and Ja and Zion, force feed their way out of the league by making dumb decisions off the court, the Knicks will look like geniuses for, settling for RJ Barrett. I mean, because he's available.
Okay. All right, yeah, you act like they wouldn't have drafted Zion or Ja if they had the chance.
Well, they would.
They would have snatched him up the nearest opportunity.
You're not wrong. They would have. But RJ's an available player who's a solid NBA, third, fourth option. He's a solid player, and he makes his living on the court, which is what NBA players are supposed to do. So for that, like you
Zion
said,
and Ja haven't been able to do.
Recently, no, they have not. And it's, like you said, it's a shame because they are 2 of the most talented players I've ever watched, ever.
Right. We've talked about a lot of great elite players in this division: Luka, Kyrie, Zion, Ja. But yet this next team might have the most anticipated, intriguing player of them all. We're talking about the San Antonio Spurs, who won the draft lottery, won the Wembanyama sweepstakes, and might have arguably the greatest prospect of all time on their team. And so I'm not expecting the Spurs to contend their rookie year. We got to keep our expectations, relatively low for a rookie. People were acting like they expected Wembanyama to be the next prime LeBron James immediately when he got in the summer league. And obviously he's going to struggle. He's a rookie. He's living in a completely new country. The game rules are a lot different than the European League. He's got some adapting to do. He's got some learning to do. He's not going to be all NBA caliber off the bat. But the potential that this guy has, a 7'3" guy with handles, a jump shot, and Rudy Gobert-like paint defense. Oh my god, it is tantalizing to imagine what the Spurs might have.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama is one of a kind. I'm really excited to watch him play, especially once he gets his legs. I feel like the first 10, 15 games, people are going to start to be like, he should be better and this, that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Give him give him half the season, I would say. Give him half the season to settle in, get used to being the number 1 option on an NBA team, let Pop coach him up for a few months. And I seriously think the second half of the season, he's going to look like an all-star caliber player.
He's going to look completely different.
And I want, especially a lot of the NBA media guys are going to start asking, is this guy a bust? He's only averaging, 20, 21 points, first 20 games or something, and
only 20 points. The fact that they can say about a rookie, if they only score 20 points and being a bust,
this kid
shows how generational he could be.
Yeah, this kid has all the pressure on him in the world. The first handful of games, especially playing on a team that's not good either. Like the Spurs are not good. And when Wembanyama does not compete with the likes of Jokic, Embiid, AD, Giannis, those guys are going to destroy this kid the first time they play him. And I will not be surprised when that happens. And I honestly don't blame Wembanyama because there's not a lot of people in the world that can stop those guys anyway. So I just want people to, be patient with him because he will be good. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This kid will be good. Yeah.
People on social media, it's like they already expect him to be great. He wasn't the number one pick because he is great. He's the number one pick because of what he could be. Like he has tools that have never been seen before. And yeah, like you said, he's got to get his legs under him. There's going to be an adjustment period, and he is going to be targeted by a lot of NBA bigs because of the hype surrounding his name. What I'm worried about is that every single game that he doesn't perform well in, he's going to get slammed on social media. You're going to see bust comments under every single page, and I think the Spurs' biggest thing this year is to make sure that doesn't get to his head. Don't let the buzz comments get to his head, because he is going to have bad games. There are going to be games that he shoots 1 of 8 from the field like he did in his first game in the Summer League. And that was Summer League, and he still got mauled on social media. He still got destroyed. And, as a young adult myself, if that happened to me, hell, my confidence would be down the drain. I would be demoralized. I'd be like, damn, I'm ass. And this is a 19-year-old kid moving to a brand new country. It's a lot to live up to. But he has a blueprint. And one of the other greatest prospects in NBA history who also received this kind of hype, LeBron. He never got into any off-the-court trouble. His main focus was on the court and performing on the court. Doesn't let talkers or haters get in his head. And he ended up being arguably the greatest player in NBA history. If Wemby can follow that blueprint, focus on the court, block out the haters, just have social media as a side option, then Wemby could be great as soon as the end of his rookie year.
Yeah, I love Wembanyama. I think he's going to be great, but I do not expect at any stretch of the imagination for the first 30 games for him to be some, all-star starting caliber center, power forward, whatever position he plays. When he plays against better players, better teams, the Spurs are going to get exposed a little bit this year. And they just need to stay patient. Their fan base needs to stay patient. Organization needs to stay patient. Because he will be good. Whether it's this year, next year, 3 years, he will be good. He will be very good. And there is an adjustment period, and I feel like he is not going to get the same leash that other players get because of the hype surrounding him.
In my years of watching the NBA, I don't think I've ever been more excited to see someone play for the first time than I am Wemby, just because of what it could be. The Spurs don't have a ton of talent around him. Keldon Johnson's a good 20 points per game scorer. But other than that, they don't have much other options on offense. So I feel like Wembanyama's going to start off being the lead option, the number one focus on offense. With that being said, as the number one option, he is going to put up numbers. Do you think he has any chance of being the first rookie to make the All-Star game since Blake Griffin?
I think there's a chance. But what I mentioned earlier is the first half of the season, he's going to be significantly worse than the second half. So if there was an all-star team at the end of the season, I would say yes. But right now, I personally would be surprised if Wembanyama made the all-star game. If he makes it, great. He deserves it. That means he deserves it. That means, players, coaches, fans think he's good enough to make the all-star team. I know the voting in the NBA all-star system is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I would be surprised if he made the All-Star game. I think he can, but I would be surprised if it happened.
All right. I can agree with that. As a number one option, I just feel like he's going to put up numbers. Even if it's empty stat numbers, those numbers might still get you on the All-Star team, especially with the hype around his name, how big his name has already become. I can't wait to see him play, man. I'm so excited to see this. One of the biggest storylines of this NBA season is a rookie. And that's never happened before. And I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the hype.
It hasn't happened before in my lifetime.
Yeah. You mentioned the hype around his name. The All-Star game reminds me of a celebrity contest to some degree. Mm-hmm. So a player of similar to maybe better skill than Wembanyama may miss the All-Star game because he doesn't have as much hype and fandom surrounding him as a Wembanyama, and I hope that doesn't happen because the All-Star game should be the best of the best this season, period. Like there shouldn't be
Mhm.
we're gonna let this guy in because
It
he's
should be a
gonna sell.
popularity contest.
No,
I agree.
he's like yes, he'll probably sell you more jerseys. Yes, he'll probably get more fans to watch on TV. But that is not what people are there to see. Competitive, fun basketball between the NBA's
We
best
don't see
players.
that anyways. We don't see that anyways.
Yeah. So
It's become a glorified half-court contest.
yeah, and it's honestly sad because the All-Star game could be the NBA's main attraction of the regular season. It could. And they've had to resort to an in-season tournament to make the regular season interesting now. When in reality, the All-Star game's been sitting under their nose the entire time and could be the most exciting part of the regular season.
I mean, that one season we saw, the first year they brought in the Elam ending when it was down to the wire. That was awesome basketball. We saw post-ups, lockdown D, saw play, and it was the best of the best. That was an awesome game. Since that first Elam ending All-Star game, yeah, it hasn't been great. If it's a blowout towards the end of the fourth quarter, the game stays the same. It just becomes chucking up half-court threes.
Yeah. So.
All right. With that being said, it's not All-Star break yet. We'll get into more of that when the time comes. Closes our preview for the Southwest Division, the Western Conference, and we've hit crunch time. We're going into another blind NBA player rankings. Max's first one didn't go so well. He redeemed himself in the Marvel. Let's see if that momentum carries over to the NBA players. Ready?
I sure hope it does because I need some redemption when it comes to the NBA talent in the league. Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Player number 1, Wendell Carter Jr.
All right, he's a solid big man. Really hasn't proved much yet in his NBA career, but he's a rotational piece. Played for Chicago and Orlando, which sucks for the kid because both those franchises suck. So I think he's pretty good, but I don't think he's the best. We'll throw him at 7.
7. All right. Put in a starting center at 7. You made the same mistake with Tobias last time. Let's hope it doesn't bite you in the ass again.
Okay, Wendell Carter's
Next.
not as good as Tobias Harris.
Oh, look at you. Is that the first Tobias Harris compliment I've seen?
I mean, that's
insane.
not saying much, but sure, we can call that a compliment if that's what you want to call it.
All right, next up, we got Eric Gordon.
Eric or Aaron?
Eric.
Okay.
The shooter, not the dunker.
I do think he's better than Wendell Carter Jr. I just don't know how much better he's better than Wendell Carter Jr. We'll throw him at 5.
5.
I feel like that's a good
All
place
right.
for Eric Gordon. He's a very good scorer, but he's at the end of his career. So
Next up, we got Keldon Johnson.
this list is tricky. I do think he's better than Eric Gordon. We'll throw him at 4.
I mean, I think it's a good place for him. I do agree. I think he is better than Eric Gordon. 20 points per game scorer, young. He's going to be the second option with Wembanyama.
Yeah, more well-rounded game than Eric Gordon for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, we got Isaiah Stewart.
This is not good because I want to put him at 6.
But that'll take up your entire middle.
I
You're going to have to
know.
vote for superstars or 15th man for the rest of the way.
I don't know if he's better than Wendell Carter, but I feel like they're the same caliber player. So for that reason, I'm going to throw him at 8.
8. All right.
But honestly, I don't know who I would take.
Next up, we got Taco Fall. He's not in the NBA anymore. He actually signed with a Chinese league, but he played in the summer league, so I feel like he's valid.
10.
10. Yeah, fair. I would put him the same. Yeah.
I don't think.
Taco, I love you, but
he's fun to watch. He's tall, but he's not good. He's not good.
all right. Next up, you might have wanted to put this guy at 10. We got Killian Hayes.
Yeah, we'll put him 9. That's fine. At least this guy still plays in the league, unlike Taco Fall. So
those last two players may have saved your list. Those last two being
now I better be pretty top heavy
bench
now.
Well, you're gonna like this next player. Then we got Kawhi Leonard.
Oh my goodness gracious! One of the most underrated players in today's game. He has a lot of injury problems, but he's still a top 10 player in the league. He's unguardable. He's so good defensively. He just needs to stay healthy. Number 1.
Number 1. All right, here's a question for you. If Kawhi stayed healthy throughout his career, you think he's a top 15 player in NBA history?
How many championships did he win? Like, how well did his teams perform when he stayed healthy?
He has the same number of championships. We'll give him the MVP though, because I would bet he would win an MVP if he could finish the season fully healthy.
Well, his season with Toronto was spectacular. He was the best player in the league that season, I think. And
if he didn't have to go through load management, I feel like he would have won MVP.
His stint with the Clippers has been underwhelming, but he's still a ridiculously talented player in the NBA. He can compete with the best players night in and night out. Top 15.
Top 15 of all time, assuming no injuries. No injuries.
I'll say yes, but he's not top 10. He'd be somewhere in that 10 to 15 range.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Probably towards the back. I'd put him like 13 through 15, probably. Somewhere in that range. I definitely think he'd have an argument for that if he stayed healthy. Won an MVP, yeah. And maybe won another championship.
I can agree with that. All right, that's 7, right? You got 3 more?
Yep, 2, 3, and 6. So hopefully these are some pretty good players.
2, 3, and 6. Next up, we got Chris Middleton.
Oh, yes. One of the best number 2 options in the NBA. I don't think I'm going to get a player better than Chris Middleton, so we're going to slot him in at 2, right behind Kawhi.
All right, it's not a bad place at all. I like that as a Bucks fan. I like seeing Chris Middleton at 2.
He's an all-star.
Next up, second to last one, we got Emmanuel Quickly.
Ooh, okay. Now, Quickly, I have Keldon Johnson at 4. Quickly and Johnson, I think Johnson's a little bit better, but honestly, I don't know how good this next player is going to be. And I honestly don't think Eric Gordon is better than Quickly. This might be a risk, but I'm putting Quickly at 3.
That is risky. That is a very, very risky pick. Number 10, Devin Booker.
Okay. See, hey, you can't win them all, okay? You can't win them all. Devin Booker, if I could redo this list, I'd put him at number 2.
At 6.
I'd put him number 2.
Hey, Eric Gordon over Devin Booker? Let's take a moment to debate. Let's justify this debate. If you had to justify it, let's hear it. Try and justify your decision putting Eric Gordon above Devin Booker.
Has Eric Gordon won a championship?
I don't believe so. He was competing with the Rockets when the Rockets had Harden and Chris Paul.
That's about the only argument I can make if he's won a championship. He might have more 3-pointers all time. Maybe.
I don't even know if he does.
Yeah, I don't know. He costs less money. Yeah. I mean.
All right. Let's recap the list. Let's see what you got.
Okay. Number 1, Kawhi Leonard, which I think, in my opinion, I got right.
Right choice.
I think you could argue Devin Booker's better than him, but I would put Kawhi over Devin Booker in my opinion.
I don't think that's arguable. Kawhi is a two-way force.
Chris Middleton, number 2. Not mad that I put him there.
That's where D-Book would have gone.
Yeah, but I didn't think a player of that caliber was coming in the last 2 players. So, Quickly, number 3. If I throw him at 6...
That's where he's fucked up. That's where you messed up.
Yeah, but, you could have given me any player in the NBA, and it just so happened to be an all-star.
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson, 4. I think Keldon Johnson, 4 is actually correct. Eric Gordon, 5. I think he could be a little bit lower. But honestly, he's in the right range. Devin Booker, 6 is an atrocious look for me. But he was the last player, so that is what it is. Wendell Carter Jr., Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, and Taco Fall are all bums, and they should be the bottom 4 in this list. Yeah. So, honestly, solid.
Not as bad as your first one.
No.
Not as good as the Marvel one. But we saw improvement, which is what we're going for.
Yeah.
It's what every player's going for.
You can't ask for more than going up. That's all you can ask for in life. It's just to keep going up. So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty solid list. I got some players right, some players wrong, and yeah, we'll get them next time for sure.
All right. That'll conclude this episode of the Hoopers Lounge. Please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. Turn on those post notifications. Follow all the socials. We'll see you on Sunday when we continue our Western Conference preview. Tip
Yeah.
off in 2 months. Let's go.
Peace.
Peace.